Welcome to Level Up Tribes. Level Up Tribes provides resources to help you attain the necessary resources to level up your mind, body, and soul and realize your full potential. It is about exploring, learning, providing you with the tools from the experts for you to create a better version of yourself. I am your host, Agnes Goodwine, and welcome, Tribes. Hello, Tribes. Today we are going to start this new decade strong and set our intentions to get out of debt and regain control of our finances with the help of Chonce Maddox, founder of MydebtEpiphany.com. Chonce is a personal finance expert and professional writer who helps ambitious individuals get unstuck by regaining control of their money. She has been incredibly driven and successful in her own personal finance and now uses her experience to help people break through their own doubts and setbacks. I knew talking with her was going to not only motivate me, but also our Level Up Tribes listeners. Her money mindset is infectious, and I'm so excited to have her on the show for you to learn her story, tools, and resources that she will be sharing with us today. Get your pen and paper ready and check out episode 21. We're about to level up our finances and change our money mindset. Thank you for doing this with me. I've been following you for a while, and I'm like, oh, this is like perfect timing. You know, January is when everybody wants to get their finances straight after the holidays. So it was perfect timing, and thank you. And I'm honored to have you here at Level Up Tribe. My first question to you is, tell us about yourself. I always like to start with everyone's story and where you're from and your professional background.
Sure. So first off, thanks so much for having me on here. I'm super excited to be doing this. And my name is Chonce Maddox Ray, and I run the blog called MydebtEpiphany.com. I've been running this blog since the end of 2014, so it's been just about a little over 5 years. It's been super fun and exciting. I live in the suburbs of Chicago with my husband and our son and our dog and our cat. We live about maybe 40 minutes west of Chicago. I started this blog because I wanted to kind of find a way to express myself and kind of share my debt journey and share what I was going through. I just came from a background where I really didn't learn a lot about money growing up. And anytime we talked about money in the household, it was kind of like a strain. It was a stressor. It was scarcity. It was, budgeting is not good. Like, we have to do it because, we have to, but it was just kind of rough. And I found myself in debt, and I found myself a young single mom in college and just trying to make ends meet, trying to figure out how to work money, how to make it work. And I kind of just got fed up, got tired of being broke. I had a breaking point. And I started to read content online from other people, and it really just was kind of like open up a whole new world to me, because I was like, no one's really talking about money kind of out in the open. Like, we're not talking about it at work. We're not talking about it at school with our friend groups. We're not talking about it as much. So I needed a community somewhere to go where I can see, like, okay, these people they have debt too. Like, because a lot of people have debt and they just don't talk about it. And I felt like, to help myself, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to just be able to kind of be accountable on my journey, because it's hard when you get into debt or you're trying to budget and, finances are tight. You're trying to just better yourself, it is for yourself or your child. It's hard. So I really wanted to just start the blog just to share my journey, to have some community, share my story. It's funny. At first I kind of tried to talk myself out of starting the blog, because I was like, well, who's going to listen to me? I remember I was sitting at my full-time job on my lunch break. I was like, well, why should I maybe I should wait until I pay off debt and I actually have something to share with people, where I actually, I have some progress and some results to share myself, kind of like a who am I type of experience. And then I was so happy, though, that I pushed past that and I just started blogging, writing posts, because being able to look back on my journey and kind of letting people see like where I am today, but also you can go back to those earlier posts and you can see, what my budget was like, the things I went through, the different things I tried out, my successes, my failures. So I like having that whole journey out there and not just being like, this
Yes.
is me. And, I'm perfect and I did all this stuff and,
Right.
I didn't have to struggle or go through anything.
Well, that was one of the things that made me listen to you and read your blogs is that, she's coming from a very authentic place. She's not scared to share what she's going through. And that's kind of a segue to my next question is, money and debt are topics that are personal and hardly talked about in public. And you were brave, to start that blog and just put your entire story out there. And that's what people want. True stories, someone that is going through the same thing I'm going through, and how did she manage to get out of it? And that was what I love and still do about your website, because that's
Yeah,
that's a brave thing to do. People don't like to talk about, hey, I'm broke, have all this debt.
Yeah, I get it. I understand it. And that's an interesting way that you word it, because I guess when I got started, I didn't really think about a lot of that. I guess I figured that obviously people I knew in my personal life wouldn't be reading it. And still, I do feel a little weird. Like if someone that knows me, like, is like, oh, I read your blog. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. People at church or wherever. But I kind of just figured like, oh, it's a big world out there. I kind of want to share my story. And I mean, I was at like a lower point where I was just like, I'm just, I'm fed up. I want to be accountable. And this isn't my first blog. I naturally just consider myself a writer. I went to school for journalism, and we actually had to start a blog in class. So this is not my first blog. I started like kind of just like a little beginner blog or something about, I forgot what it was called, like broke college girl or something or whatever. And I was like, I hope it's not still up there somewhere. It might be. And I've, started a fashion blog before. So blogging I'm not new to blogging. So I kind of was like, well, have experience with kind of being open and sharing stuff. But yeah, with money, I had to be very vulnerable, just very like raw, sharing real numbers. And I kind of just didn't really have a lot holding me back. I felt like, I really didn't have much to lose. Like, yeah. I know some people who started blogging when I did, they were anonymous, because they had certain jobs and they might not have been able to have a blog, or, they just wanted that privacy. And I get that. But I feel like, my job at the time, I don't think they would have minded me having a blog. I didn't talk about where I worked, or, I didn't talk about how much I made for my job. I didn't mention any of that personal stuff. I think I didn't even share like my son or my boyfriend was my husband now, but he was my boyfriend at the time. I didn't share his name at all. Okay. So it was kind of like I kind of like had a little veil of certain things I didn't want to mention and certain types of privacy, but I felt like I didn't say what city I lived in. Okay. So I just felt like, hey, I'm just a girl and no one probably knows who I am. And, people just want to hear a real story, and I want to be accountable and I want to share things. And I think just with us being in this social media era now, we are just more inclined to kind of just be, share certain things. And not always when it comes to money, but, people post online all the time, personal stuff. Sometimes it's TMI. So we are like a sharing kind of culture.
Right. It has changed over the years, I'll tell you that. What was the first thing, someone that's listening to us right now and they are in debt, what is the first thing that you just have to do? What kind of tools and resources can you provide to us to take that first leap?
When you are, first in debt and maybe you're, playing around with the idea of doing things differently and trying to do better with your finances, actually, free up more of your money, you have to just kind of make a decision, and it has to be not a decision that someone else makes. You have to just make a firm decision to change your life and get out of debt. And I remember just being inspired, and it was right after I had graduated, I had student loan debt, and I set up my payment plan for 10 years. And I was like, I do not want to spend 10 years paying off this debt. I had made that decision. And I stuck with it because there was something behind it. I got mad at my situation. I got just so tired of being broke, of not having enough money, of having to worry about money, wake up at night worrying about money. I got really tired. I got really firm, and I made that decision and that kind of commitment to myself to get out of debt. And I think it all starts in your mind. It all starts with your mindset and with you just admitting to yourself. Sometimes there's a lot of shame surrounding debt. People, they, feel bad about it. They beat themselves up. They think about the past, what they could have done, what they should have done. It gets to a point where it's kind of like you have to just forgive yourself and move on and just say, hey, I'm going to change my life today. It's not going to be super easy all the time, but I'm going to commit to doing this. And I think just having the right tools and strategy is also just very important.
Yes.
So what I had started doing, what I should have done a while ago, was I started budgeting. I started getting really real with my income and my expenses and getting honest about what was going on. And I'll tell you, I used to make such little money that I didn't even think it was worth it to budget. I was like, well, I don't really make a lot of money, so like, why should I budget anyway? And I felt like me budgeting was going to make you feel worse, or like
Yes.
uncover more things about myself. But you kind of just have to lay it all out and just realize that, like, your budget is not the enemy. Your budget is just neutral. It's just your spending plan. It just tells you how much money you have, what you have to spend it on. And you would have to do that regardless of if you had a budget or not. So it's really not your budget's fault for anything. You kind of just use it as a tool to help you.
Yes.
And actually having that clarity and knowing what was going on, I called some of my debt, the companies that I had debt with, like my student loans, my car loan. I asked them, like, what's my interest rate? How much am I paying a month in interest? I straight up asked my student loan company that, and they answered me. And it's just like the power of knowing is just so powerful. Sometimes you can get into this spiral when you're getting into debt, when you're overspending. We all kind of do it. Like, we're like, oh, I'm spending money. I don't really know. Like, I'll worry about it later. I'll look at my account later.
Yes.
But it's really just having that power to know, to have real numbers, to have a budget. It can give you confidence. You could even use your budget and your plan to figure out how soon can I pay off my debt, which is super exciting. So I would also recommend that you set a debt repayment deadline when you want to have your debt paid off by. Now, mine has changed several times. I didn't meet my first one, and it happens, but I feel like just having that goal to look forward to is so motivational.
Yes, it is. I've done that. I've taken over my control over my finances probably very seriously in the last 2 years, and it's paying off. It's going to take time. A lot of us, I know with me, I want it now. I want to pay this off now. Well, sometimes emergency things happen, and you just have to kind of figure it out along the way. And so, just have some patience.
Yeah.
So set up a budget, realistic budget, from what I hear you say. Change the
Yes.
mindset in regards to how you're going to deal with your budget and your spending. For those that do not have additional money to pay their debt, one thing that you did was you found like low commitment side hustles.
Yes.
What can people do to earn that extra money?
Yeah, side hustles was just very important for me and very crucial in my debt payoff journey. Because as I said, I kind of came from like a lower income background. Yeah. I had an entry level job. I was also a parent, handling things by myself. So I didn't really have a lot of money to throw toward debt. Budgeting did help me, and that was like the first thing I recommend, because you got to know what's going on. You got to know where your money's going. You may find ways that you can cut back or save on certain things, like the basics, like stop dining out, cancel your subscription, stuff like that. Yeah. But you also get to a point where you can only save so much. You can only cut so much, and you still want to live comfortably, obviously, Yeah. There's some people who do like extreme things to pay off debt, and I give kudos to them, but I just couldn't do that. I couldn't go move in my car, or, I had no, parents' basement to go to. So I really could only cut my expenses by so much. And I found it very helpful to make extra money. So I started just trying to determine like what my terms were. So like, what are my interests? What's available to me? What type of time do I have to work on the side? I didn't really have the time or the energy to go work a second job, to work a night job. And so I try to find something flexible that I could do, fast paying. For me, my jam is working from home because I just love the flexibility. But I would just recommend for anyone to really weigh your options and also your interests and your skills. You may even be able to start by just taking what you do at your day job and offering it as a freelance service or consulting. I used to work at a web design company, and like so many of the guys there, they were so talented. I, thought in my head, I was like, they can probably make a ton of money on the side, like designing logos, building people's websites, even starting a profile on Fiverr. So you can always start with what you do, what your skills are. And you can also just, as an alternative, look to just kind of low impact, low effort side hustles, ways to make extra money. My husband started driving for Uber and Lyft 3 years ago. It helped us pay off his car loan and, a ton of other debt and free up more money. You can deliver food, with sites like DoorDash and Grubhub. I've tried DoorDash. You can try to walk dogs. There's a site called Rover that helps you do that. So just kind of figure out, like, if you don't know where to start, there's always like sites and apps that can help you make money. And for me, my skill was freelance writing because I enjoy writing, and I started a blog. So I was like, well, I might as well maybe try to write for some other sites or write for some other blogs. So I got into freelance writing, which then helped me get into doing virtual assistant work because some of my writing clients were like, hey, do you do other stuff too? Can you manage our social media or do some posts on Facebook or Twitter for us? Or, one of my clients asked me, can you manage my blog comments? I get a ton of comments and I want have some help, filtering through the spam ones. So just certain things like that kind of helped me get into those side hustles.
That's awesome. Great ideas. When you're in debt and you're trying to get your finances in check, when you're by yourself, it's easier. But then when you're married, things get a little complicated. What advice would you give a couple who is struggling with their finances? What are some of the tips and resources that you can recommend for couples being impacted by money troubles? Because finance is probably the number one reason people get divorced.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, money is actually one of the top causes of divorce, and it's very unfortunate, but it's just one of those things where it's kind of hard sometimes to get on the same page. Your partner, your spouse is not the same as you. They don't have the same experiences as you. They don't have the same preferences. They maybe have different hobbies. Maybe you have your bad financial habits and they have theirs, and it kind of creates conflict. Maybe I've even talked to some people who, they're like, oh, well, my partner doesn't know how to pay bills or just certain things. So it's just it can get kind of this confusing and a little hectic. And, I guess I can kind of share my examples for my relationship and also just some basic tips. But I think when it comes to finances, there's maybe a certain time in the relationship when you should definitely talk about it. And for me, I was so independent and I was so used to managing money by myself. And, I had started budgeting, I had started paying off debt. And it was a challenge to kind of start to share that responsibility with someone else, start to trust someone else. And, to be honest, my husband and I, we didn't combine finances until our 1 year, anniversary of being married. So we ended up having, kind of splitting our expenses, his budget, my budget. Then we actually finally combined, and it's been so much better since we combined. But I think just the first thing you have to do is try to get on the same page and to set expectations for what that's going to look like. So, your partner has to be comfortable opening up and talking about money and talking about, what goals they have. And you can try to find some commonality between there. And one thing that you can do if they don't do it is ask them out on a budget date. This is something that I did because sometimes when we started dating and stuff and getting married, my husband was a little bit more of a spender and I was like, oh, let's save, pay down debt. And we actually kind of switched almost a few years after that. But I felt like I came on a little harsh trying to correct him, and it came off almost critical, criticizing him, trying to tell him to this, do that. And in my perspective, I was trying to help. I was like, well, you could save so much money if you bring your lunch, or if we do this, if we stop, cut expenses here or there. And I can see how if you come off really strong and I know it all and I'm going to tell you how to do this, your partner can put up a wall and a defense and just be feel like they're being attacked, and they probably won't see it the way that you're seeing it. So one thing I did was just to kind of have everyone put their guards down. I asked them on a budget date, and we actually went to a restaurant for dessert, and they had ice cream because he loves ice cream. So, and then I got out, my computer and everything, and we started talking about our finances, and we started talking about our budget, and also just listening, see what his goals were, what his input was, and make sure that we were on the same page and that he agreed with it. But your partner has to be open and honest. I know there's sometimes, financial infidelity. Maybe people feel shame around certain debt they have. They may not want to reveal certain things, but you have to just kind of lay everything out on the table. We have, access to each other's credit cards, and all of our, everything is just out and open. We have a joint account now, which I think is great. Account for me, there's an account for him. And then we used to have a joint account where we would put stuff in that middle account, for a mortgage, stuff like that. But we both now, and we can transfer back and forth. We can see everything. So just kind of being honest, open, making money a little bit more exciting, my husband and I, we love to dream and we love to set goals together. So I kind of, instead of harping on, just allowing them also to be them. One thing that we do is we try to give ourselves allowances. It's a small amount. When money was tighter, we didn't really have enough, a lot to give, each other, but in our budget, we have, his money that he can spend, my money that I can spend, and maybe like $25, $50 a month, but that's just money that we can spend on different things, hobbies, snacks at the store, whatever we want. And it's kind of no questions asked, so that each of us feel like we kind of have our own individuality and what we want to spend money on. But then we also get excited at our money dates about the goals that we set, about things that we're trying to do. And it kind of just instead of harping on my husband, I wanted to try to show him how exciting budgeting can be, how great it feels when we pay off a debt, when we meet our goals, how fun it is to plan a vacation. And it no longer becomes like, oh, we're cutting back and we're taking sandwiches to, for lunch every day. It's like we are bringing in lunch, we're being creative, and then we're going to take a vacation next year and we're going to see that savings build and we're going to do something exciting. So it's kind of being on that journey together.
I love it.
Is a couple of ideas that I had. But yeah, you just really have to just start and be patient. And it's sometimes compromise and, some give and take as well.
Great advice. What are some of your favorite apps or software you've found along your journey that has helped you track your finances?
That's a good question. I don't use a lot of software or apps to really help me track things. My bank is actually pretty good at kind of helping with budgeting and telling where my money is going. Before that, I did use Mint, but I really just kind of use a standard basic system where I have a written budget and, I will track my expenses. That way my husband and I meet at least once a week to go over stuff, go over goals. And then we also have a spreadsheet just in Google Docs that I share with him. We can add comments to it. We can say, this is coming up. We want to focus and work on this. I'm sure there are, some decent apps out there, but for me personally, I think it's to each his own. I kind of wanted to take more of a hands-on approach and actually be kind of, down there in the trenches with my money and actually, be able to calculate things and see what's going on and, kind of just create my own types of goals and, be accountable for that. But I think, with my clients, I write about a lot of different things and I do try some things out. There are definitely some money saving apps. I've tried Digit before. Digit is nice. It helps you just save automatically. So it'll study your spending and it'll take some money and, a couple dollars here and there, you probably won't even notice it, and then it'll save it for you. I did use that in the past to kind of build up a small emergency fund for my pets and also for some travel money. One app I do use is Acorns, and that is an investment app. So it kind of helps invest it rounds up spare change. So say if you go, to the store and you spend $3.50, that will take 50 cents and it will invest it for you. And then I also just contribute $5 a week. But that's basically the gist of apps that I use.
Okay.
If you are looking for a beneficial tool, something to kind of help you save on expenses and subscriptions, there is, what is the name of it? I drew a blank. There is an app that can help you do that. I might give it to you if you want to tell people and put it in the description. But yeah, it helps kind of cancel your subscriptions. It helps you negotiate better rates, things like that. So that could be helpful.
Okay. And I know you have a lot of these resources on your website. What's the number one thing you say to people to inspire them to change their mindset about money?
Wow, that's a great question. I actually tell people quite a few things about mindset and just inspiring them to change their financial situation. I think maybe the most common thing I tell people is that to give yourself grace and just realize that you can't live the same lifestyle and have the same habits that you had when you got into debt in order to, or, however you were living, that put you in a place where you don't feel so happy and excited and on track with your finances. You can't live that same way if you want to change, if you want to pay off debt, if you want to do something different with your money. And it's kind of I compare personal finance a lot to health and wellness and things like that. Cause it's if you're trying to get healthy, it's January, everyone's trying to, get back on track on their health goals too. You can't, eat junk. You can't live the same lifestyle. You can't go out and, have pizza every night or fast food all the time. You're eating differently. So it's kind of, it's a big shift. It's a big change. You got to find your support system and you have to change your habits. You got to change your lifestyle. Maybe budgeting might sound a little weird or different to you, but you got to start doing it because you have to live differently if you want to get different results.
Yes. Any budget or money management books that you can recommend?
Oh yes, of course. I always I always have books to recommend. I am actually working on a money mindset book right now that I'm really excited about. It's an ebook. I'll probably put it up on Amazon maybe in February,
Awesome.
but I'm super excited about it because oh yes, I just enjoy exploring and talking about money mindset because I feel like a lot of the times when we want to get our finances in order, we're like, okay, what tools, what tips, what hacks,
Yes.
what types of, shortcuts can I take? What can I do? How can I make more money? And I used to think that making more money was going to solve my problems. I have since, more than like quadrupled my income from when I started paying off my debt. And I realized that, the more money you make, it doesn't always solve your money problems. If that were the case, people who are, wealthy wouldn't have money problems or wouldn't be going through certain things. And so I think before we get to the point where we want to talk about even managing money and all these different things and habits you have to do, you have to work on your mindset because everything happens in your mind first.
Yes.
So I love talking about money mindset. I love helping people with this. And I feel like if you are stuck and you feel like maybe you've made a little progress, or maybe you're just wondering like, why does it seem like I can't stop living paycheck to paycheck? Why does it seem like I can't have a breakthrough? Why does everyone else around
Yes.
me seem like, they're doing better or whatever? Like you have to really focus on your mindset to actually break through because that's what could be really holding you back. And, I still struggle with money mindset and with growing, my business and stuff and just things that I think aren't achievable. So I think it's important to just realize that you can tell yourself whatever you want about money. You don't have to tell yourself that money's hard or, that budgeting is going to be impossible for you. You don't have to tell yourself these things. You can literally believe whatever you want about money. So I'm working on the money mindset book, super excited about it, finishing it up. There are some other great books that I would recommend. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is another awesome money mindset book that I would highly recommend that you read. I think anyone who reads it, their life is going to change in some way. It's
Oh,
very
wow.
impactful. There's another book. It's called Overcoming Under Earning. And this is a great book for, I think it's by Barbara Stanny. And this is a great book for anyone who feels like they have sabotaged themselves in terms of, not earning enough to meet their full potential. It's not about making the most money you can, but it's knowing what you're worth and actually how to elevate your income to your full potential, and also stop living paycheck to paycheck. And then another book is Four Financial Languages by Madam Money. That book is awesome. It's like about like love languages, but it's like your four financial languages. So it kind of helps you, especially if you're a couple. It's a great book to read because your partner may have a different financial language than you. So that's kind of fun. And then finally, I would just recommend Hustle Away Debt by David Carlson. It's a great book about all the different side hustles that you can do if you're interested in making more money to get out of debt.
Thank you for sharing those.
Sure.
In addition to you being a blogger and writing your ebook and everything you do, you also do personal finance coaching, right?
I do personal finance coaching for students of my Love Your Budget course. So I help people kind of get on track with paying off debt and using their budget to improve their finances, whether that's, cutting expenses, freeing up money to pay off debt, or earning extra income. So I don't do like one-on-one on-demand coaching anymore, but I
Okay.
do coaching for the people who are in that program. And I think it's easier because everyone's situation is unique. And I do like to
Okay.
offer obviously customized coaching and different solutions. So everyone's coaching is different, but I felt like the common basics that I was teaching people are in that program. So I felt, why charge people, extra money? I had a 3-month program to basically teach them what's in that course.
True.
And then from there, once they have the tools and they're actually doing that strategy and, they're budgeting and they are getting more advanced, then the coaching is more effective, I feel, because then we
Okay.
can get down to you can go even deeper.
Awesome. Well, you're pretty busy. So, what is next for you besides your ebook that's coming out? What else do you have planned?
Well, I finally bit the bullet and I started a YouTube channel last year. I didn't want to let last year end without me doing this. I've been saying I wanted to do video for the longest. So, yeah, I'm just basically going to be focusing on putting more great stuff on the blog, and then also YouTube for people who prefer video content. I feel like it's a fun way to kind of like, explain certain things, certain concepts. So yeah, I'm building a YouTube channel.
Is there anything else
Right,
that you would like to add or discuss that perhaps we haven't touched on today?
I think we've touched on some great things, and I hope that listeners find this helpful, and just want to make sure that whoever's listening to this, that they're encouraged, and just that that wherever you're starting at, everyone has their own starting point, their own day one. Definitely don't beat yourself up about debt or about money. Just start with small habits, start making a change. Don't compare yourself to other people. It makes no sense to compare your beginning to someone else's middle, or compare your early middle to someone else's late middle.
Yes.
So really just be encouraged, be inspired, and just know that each day that you make progress, each debt payment that you make, like, things are getting better. Like, it's like, you're think about it like you're gaining more of your freedom back. Each time you have a realistic budget, and you stick to it. Each time you save money, each time you make a debt payment, you are gaining more and more of your freedom back. So to keep that in mind, keep in sight what your end goal is, what you want your life to look like, what you want your vision, your family life, and all that stuff. And just know that I can probably guess that you're probably killing it, and you're going to do an awesome, amazing job this year.
Yes, thank you. What is the best way for our listeners to contact you, and maybe provide any social media sites that you may have?
So, the blog, I'm always on there, responding to comments. And I think you can sign up for my weekly emails on there. I have a lot of freebies and just more, insider tips, advice. And it's kind of just more of like the tribe. I do also have a Facebook group. It's the MydebtEpiphany community. If you want to go in there and kind of, just connect with a judgment zone. We help each other. We support each other. We share certain tips and things. It's open for anybody to contribute in there. So those things. And then did I mention Instagram, MydebtEpiphany as well, and YouTube? So I'm kind of have slowly been spreading my wings all over the internet.
Amazing. You're doing amazing work. I cannot wait to see what's next. I can't wait to get the ebook. I will purchase that. So because I do receive your weekly emails, you will send that link to everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sign up for the email list. You will be notified about pre-orders. And I also post on the blog when the ebook is available.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show and providing so many golden nuggets about finance and managing our money better. I wish you the best.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chonce.
You too.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Please visit the website at www.leveluptribes.com. And please subscribe to the podcast and share with your family and friends. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Catch you all next time, my beloved tribes.